Welcome to Discovering. Itching to get back in the boat? We'll take a quick trip to the Menominee River in search of browns.
Beautiful. That's what we're looking for.
Then we'll take a look at a little different way to cook them.
And I have a story where history meets hiking in Chassell.
Members of the community, as well as visitors to the community, are going to understand what really put Chassell on the map.
Sit back, put your feet up, and come on along. It's Monday night and time for Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
As the beginning of April rolls around, if you've got a rod, a reel, and a boat, you're no doubt itching to get on the water. One of the first places you can do that is on the stretch of water that forms the border between the UP and Wisconsin, the Menominee River. I was heading out for a quick evening on the water with Brian Clairmont of BAC Guide Service and Lure Lipstick Pro Staffer Kevin Dempsey in search of brown trout.
It's been a long winter, but we've been doing pretty good on some browns and we've been getting a few walleyes.
The day before, Brian was dragging a smaller boat across the ice to open water at this same landing.
What we're doing is we're doing about 1 to 1.5 against the current. The current's probably doing 2 or 3 that way, so when you get a strike, hang on to the rod. The browns have just been inhaling it, so you'll know right away if you got a brown calf. If it's a walleye, they're kind of sluggish yet because the water's really cold, but we've been having a blast. First time out in a bigger boat too. Feels pretty good. This is what we're running today. Size 11 Rapala, perch colored, BAC style, red hook in the front with a clip, with a BAC walleye leader, but we're going to call it the BAC walleye / brown trout leader because we've been catching both. And that's a piece of lead core with a piece of fluorocarbon. And this is how I fish this. I'll give it just a little cast out downstream, a little bit of line out, click my bail. When you click your bail, always make sure your line goes in right there where the roller bearing is, because see how it's sitting there? If you had a big fish hit that right now, you have a good chance of breaking your line. So just grab your line, go like that, pops right in there, see how nice that is? That's what you want, because now when you get a fish on there, it'll roll. If it's not on that roller bearing, your line will pinch, break off. That's our tip of the day. Anyway, with these, about 1.5, and I cast it out, and when I do, I'll go a little ways, and I'll let a little bit more line out. Because we're fishing anywhere from 4 to 10 feet of water here, and I can get this bait down around 6-7 feet. But I'll run it like this. I'll let a little bit more line out as you go to let the fish tell me what depth they want that bait at, where they're holding, how far they'll chase. And instead of just sitting here holding my rod, trolling like this, I like to pump the rod. Pump it forward, let it slide back. But there's a million ways to do this. Sometimes fast. You got to do it a bunch of different ways so the fish will tell you what kind of mood they're in.
I'm going to freshen this up here, Clairmont. Tex Dempsey here, Lure Lipstick, up here with fellow pro staffer, Brian Clairmont with BAC Guide Service up in Marinette here. I'm going to run this chapstick right along both sides of this bait. And I'm going to tip these hooks a little bit, just to give it a little extra. I always like to say more is better, you know, unless it's in the tavern, of course, but that's all it is. What that's going to do is that's going to leave yourself a scent trail in the water. The fish swims across that trail, he comes up on that scent trail, and he's going to want to attack that bait. Fish pheromone, everybody. Good stuff. I love it. I love it for every species of fish that I've used so far. I like the chapstick on your crankbaits, for sure.
I swear by this stuff, lure lipstick, especially these hard baits like this, a little bit of scent on it just makes a big difference. And all you gotta do is just rub that on like that and ready to go. For these browns, I don't know what it is, but where, as far as the ice is where the fish like to sit, right on that edge. I don't know how many I've caught 20 yards under the ice. And then if you're going too fast, them fish try to come up, they hit the bottom of the ice, they'll pull the hooks out. But they like to hang on that edge of that ice. I don't know why. I got a brown. Ooh, it feels like a pretty good one. Took a little while, but you just gotta keep at her. I know them fish are here. If I know they're here, there's a way to catch them. Wait, it's slapping back and forth. Ooh, it's a nice one too. Pull and drag. Oh, maybe it's a rainbow. Oh, it's brown. Beautiful. That's what we're looking for. There we go. Had to switch colors. Nice male, little hook on the jaw. That's what we're out here looking for right now. I always start with the browns and then the walleyes. Gotta love it, gotta love it. Lure lipstick, baby.
We're up here trying to get some brown trout on a Menominee and some walleyes. We picked up one brown today so far, tonight, and one walleye so far. So the night is young, and we'll see what else we got to, you see what else has to offer us for today. Now I want to ask you now, okay, now, for everybody out there, we're running floating Rapalas, okay? Now typically these are gonna run 4 to 6 feet, correct, Brian? Okay, so now, by adding this 18 inches to 2 feet of this lead core, what is that lead core going to do for the depth of this bait? Is that going to give it a foot, 2 feet? How much do you think that's going to give this bait?
I did that lead core for that reason, to try to bring that bait down a little bit deeper. And I think that lead core probably is only about a difference of 6 to 8 inches. But this is what this turned into. When we're pulling this lure, like, you know, we're pulling it, sure, you know, making it speed up and stuff, with that lead core on there, it gives that bait a whole different action when you go back. Where if you put a split shot on there, what that split shot kills your action. Anytime you do any different thing there, split shot or different clip, like you like that clip there, see it's got a big curve in it? Yep. So that Rapala can swing in there good. Like I said, I think that might do it, that piece of lead core 6 to 8 inches deeper, but it's all when you're pulling it, the action. And like I said, any little thing you do between here and your line, you know this, it changes your action in your lure.
Correct.
So, while you're trolling with this now, first time ever, you can really feel that Rapala wiggling, right?
Sure.
So you know it's working. Again, when you're fishing, little things you do make a world of difference. It does. Fish on! This might be a walleye. I don't know here, let's see. See, it was really slow for a little while, but you just gotta wait them out. It runs in spurts, because it didn't take too long to get in there and fish. I gotta release this one anyway. Look at that. Don't even get them in the net. I'll just grab them. And we get a few little walleyes too. Nice little male. I already caught my male for today, so I'm gonna let this one go. But that's a nice little eater if you're gonna eat them. It's just the beginning. It's my favorite time of the year.
If you're going to keep them, you got to cook them. Grilled, smoked, baked, trout is great no matter what gets them to the table. I was in the kitchen with Mary Malner for a different twist on trout.
So I've got these two beautiful fillets, and we're going to change it up and not pan fry. We're not going to grill them. We're going to make some fresh Thai fish cakes. I love fish cakes and I love Thai, so two of my favorites together. So we're going to use a big clove of garlic. If you've got smaller pieces of fish, it's a good way to use up odds and ends. So we're just going to take our clove of garlic. Got a nice big one again, so we're going to put this right in here. Now you could change these up. Today we're going to use some Thai seasoning. You could use traditional Old Bay and make it like a salmon patty, or like traditional flavors of crab cake. We're going to go with a little bit of dry Thai seasoning and some red curry, which is going to give it an amazing flavor. Just going to give it a rough chop because it's all going to go into the processor. Got our garlic in here. So we're going to just give that a quick whiz. In goes our fish. A little bit of our dry Thai seasoning. It's going to be a little bit spicy. A teaspoon of red curry paste. I've got some coconut aminos, so we're going to do about a teaspoon of that. It's an alternative to a soy sauce. Not as much sodium in it. It's a little bit healthier. We're going to do a couple of drops of a Thai fish sauce, and this is going to give it a kind of a salty, briny taste. It's not anything you're going to pick out, but if it's not there, you're going to miss it. It's going to change the recipe. So we're just going to give it a couple little shakes. I've got some Thai lime, and then I've got some dried Thai basil that I'm going to use, and I got some fresh Thai basil that we're going to put in too, and about a teaspoon of cassava flour. I'm using this instead of a regular flour or a cornstarch just to kind of hold it together, act as a binder. Whiz it all together. So we could make it into like a larger patty or a burger if you wanted to. I'm going to do it in smaller, more of an appetizer. So we're going to get our pan nice and hot, and then I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in there. You could use any fish with this. You could use a salmon, a whitefish, walleye, trout like we're using, just about anything. You could even do these like in little balls, like meatballs, and bake them in the oven. Serve them on a toothpick as an appetizer. So we're not really deep frying them. So while we're waiting for the fish to get done, we're going to make the dipping sauce. So we've got kind of a heavy mayo. We're going to do a little bit of mustard, exact measurement, 1 squirt. I'm using a Dijon. You could use, if you like a grainy mustard, like a Creole mustard, something with a little more seed in it. And I'm going to add just a little bit of a Thai chili sauce, just a sweet dipping sauce. Use that a lot like for egg rolls. And then just for a little bit of heat, add some sriracha. So I love the flavor of that. Okay, so our sauce is done. Our fish is done. And there you go, Thai fish cakes with a bang bang sauce.
The Upper Peninsula has a rich logging history. From 1869 to 1900, Michigan was the nation's leading lumber producer, and lumber exported out of the UP helped build a growing nation. Lumber mills dotted the coast of Lake Superior and waterways, and towns were built up around them. One town that lumber built is Chassell, located 8 miles south of downtown Houghton on Pike Bay of Portage Lake. This winter I caught up with a group of people taking steps to preserve this lumber history by establishing a historic walking trail right on the former mill site.
We are in the Chassell Heritage Center today to talk about a proposed history trail along the Worcester or Sturgeon River lumber mill area. It was originally the Sturgeon River Mill, which was built in 1887, and it's really why Chassell is here. The town grew up directly around the mill, hence the town that lumber built is the name for Chassell. So you can see the importance of the mill in the town itself. That operated until 1902 when the softwood resources, so pine and things like that, were depleted from the area. And Charles Worcester out of Chicago purchased the mill in its entirety, and then started accessing hardwood resources through the construction of the rail lines. And that then ran until 1928.
My great-grandfather was superintendent of the mill and was hired by Mr. Worcester and ran the mill and the lumber lands for Mr. Worcester for the duration of the period that the Worcester family owned the mill.
There's nothing really left of the mill itself. There are a few foundations. There's a giant sawdust pile that may smoke every once in a while on a very hot summer day. You can see a few elements of the pier that's still standing in the water, but there's not much left as far as the built landscape of the mill itself. So creating a walking trail allows people to wander through the history.
Well, this is something that grew out of our 5-year recreation plan process. We started by surveying our citizens to get a sense for what their interests were, and in that process we learned that our citizens were very interested in seeing trails established. One of our members of our planning commission, Doug HAMAR, owns the old mill site.
Where we were looking at ways to enhance outdoor activity and recreational facilities and activities in the township. And having obviously a fondness for the mill itself and knowing that not everyone understood the history as it related to the physical location of the mill. The museum does a great job of presenting what took place and I think archives well some of the activities that the loggers were involved with. But in regards to the actual mill site itself, because it's so overgrown, I think a lot of people have lost touch with the fact that that had a very prominent position and place in the community. So the thought just came to mind, why not open it up as an interpretive trail for people so that they can come to understand better what that mill meant in terms of a physical presence in the community.
It was a big complex, and I think that's what people will appreciate as they get out there on the site. I mean, as you walk it, you really get a sense of the magnitude that this place had on the bay.
One thing to see it in a picture, but it's another thing to actually walk all the way through there and think, you know, just to get a sense of the size of how big this mill was and the storage it needed for all the lumber it cut. Right.
So there was a sawmill, a planing mill, a lath mill, and a shingle mill all on that site, as well as a power plant.
Back that way we had the powerhouse right near where the hot pond was, and the mills are separate mills are sort of spaced out as we're working through here with all of our lumber storage and rail back that way. And then the shipping docks out this way, you could see some of the leftovers of the piers.
You know, what's unique about small communities in the UP is that there seems to be an overabundance of volunteerism. And when a project like this gets announced, it's amazing the number of people that say, well, I'll do this, I'll do that. Hey, we could get this group to do this, we could get that group to do that.
The most exciting features, I think, in that has been the relationship that we've developed with the industrial archaeology program at Michigan Technological University.
Keith contacted my advisor about the sort of trying to figure out how this process would start and mobilizing some of these histories and heritage resources and the connections between history. I'm an archaeologist, so these different heritage professionals at Michigan Tech, and how we can come in and help this community build their own heritage. So it was through that class we started working with the local school and some of the school children in the high school to get them involved with the process so they might be able to create their own history and tell it right here in Chassell.
We have a class under Mr. Gadati that has been working with the Planning Commission and Mr. Keith MEYERS on the signage and whatnot and the historical part of the trail. It's a phenomenal thing for our school to be able to do that. I really like the fact that our students can get involved.
What they're learning is a more active connection to what they have here in Chassell, beyond the textbook, beyond the in-class lecture, spots that maybe they've been running around, a ground that has a story to the past, a connection to the past that they never knew. And so it's becoming really engaging learning for them.
We're looking at the development of signs to properly portray and illustrate the various visuals that will be available to folks as they traverse down the trail. So those are in the process of being developed and conceived.
Another idea we've had for the signs itself is to use some cutaway images where you'd have part of a historical photograph on it and then part of it cut away, and if a marker on the trail, so if you stand in the marker, you'd be able to actually look through the sign to see where a building was situated on the landscape when the mill was constructed.
From here, our next steps are to start developing a full budget as far as the creation of a possible boardwalk for parts of the trails. This is moving through a wetland area. It's easier to have a boardwalk than trying to drain it or something like that. There was also an elevated steam line that ran through the mill. We're hoping to actually locate the boardwalk on where that steam line may have ran to really recreate some of that built environment and landscape that's no longer present, so people can sort of walk through history as they're experiencing this trail.
So really the really cool thing about having a place like this in the outdoors where you can enjoy history, you're out there in the place where it actually existed, and you can touch it and feel it and be a part of what maybe those people who worked there were actually experiencing in that place at the time that took place in history. And that's a really cool concept.
Anything to get people outside. Go for a walk. Learn a little bit about the town that you live in while you're on that stroll.
The group is at the funding stage of the project now. What a unique way to experience the outdoors and learn history all at the same time. Once the trail is complete, I'll be back to see how it all turns out.
Well, that's it for this week. Be sure to check out 906outdoors.com, where you'll find the 906 fishing report, TV6 weather, shopping, and more. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next week right here on Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.